Hi, welcome to the Guerin Report on this Monday night. Hope you've had a great day. Thanks for taking the time to hang out with us. To everybody at New Zealand Bloodstock, congratulations on a huge sale last week. To those at the Waikato Thoroughbred Racing, best of luck for what's going to be a massive day there this Saturday with the Herbie Dyke and of course the BCD Sprint. Tonight on the show, our key interview is one of the favourite sons of New Zealand racing. We were lucky enough to go to Hong Kong to catch up with Jamie Richards and family. Here is Jamie at his new stables. Well, Jamie, let's start at the beginning. How's life in Hong Kong, mate?
Hong Kong's good. Wonderful place to live. Very lucky in terms of we don't race every day of the week. We only race Shelton on a Saturday or Sunday, and Happy Valley every Wednesday. So 2 meetings a week and a couple of trial meetings. So in terms of the lifestyle, you do have a bit more time here. In saying that, it's also a very challenging and full-on place. Very results orientated. But as a city, it's a wonderful place to live. Great for Danielle and the family, and yeah, we're enjoying our time here.
What's the greatest adjustment? We'll get to the training later, but in your normal life from living in Matamata to living in Hong Kong?
I guess there's a number of different things. Like it's 7 days a week here because we run on a Sunday. 7 days a week, the horses really don't get any time off. Most of them work every day. So you're at the stable every morning. The alarm goes off at 3:30 every day. Whereas in Matamata, not many of the horses worked on a Sunday. So you usually got a bit of a quiet day on the Sunday. And I guess Matamata is very rural. There's 1 or 2 restaurants, whereas here, fast-paced way of life. You're often out meeting owners, having lunch, having dinner, having coffee, just sort of networking, meeting different people. So I guess there's a bit more of the social side of it than probably what I had to do back in New Zealand. In terms of just concentrating on training the horses, there's you know, a number of other things that you've got to do to try and keep everyone happy.
There's a lot of myths and things we think are true about Hong Kong racing when you live in New Zealand or Australia. One is the owner relations. We think that you have to go out for dinner and lunch with all these owners all the time and drink, and it's part of the job. Is that actually true?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it is important to get out there and be sociable, but at the same time, very results orientated. You know, if you're not training winners, then not many people want to talk to you. So it's a very challenging place. But yeah, you've definitely got to work hard to put yourself out there and be seen. And that's something that's very true. There is a lot of socialising. There's a lot of meetings, a lot of different things that you've got to do to try and keep everyone, you know, and happy and keep the stable ticking over.
Is language ever a barrier in those situations?
Yeah, it is. Yep, for sure. I don't really train for too many people that don't speak English, but on the odd occasion where you meet someone or you're training for someone, they'll often have an interpreter with them. I did try to learn a bit of Cantonese when I got here, but really struggled with it, so that didn't last very long. But yeah, it's there is obviously people that don't speak English, but usually they have somebody with them if they can't.
It would seem to be because a lot of people in New Zealand have known you for 10 years or 20 years, and therefore that engenders some loyalty. Obviously people here have known you for a far shorter period of time, and it can be as cutthroat as getting a text message from the stewards and saying, this horse is moving to another trainer, and that's it.
100%.
That must be an unusual reality as a Kiwi.
It's horrible. I think it's the toughest part of the job. Is you know, you might have a horse that runs well on a Wednesday night or a Sunday that you think's run well, and then the next day or the following day you'll get a message from the stewards, and it just upsets your whole day when the text comes through.
So this horse is moving to such and such.
Yeah, this horse is going to.
I don't mean to laugh, Jamie, but
uh,
it must be a very hard thing to get used to.
Well, I certainly took it pretty hard. Not the first year, I didn't have too many of them, but last year I had a lot, and we're getting through a few more of them now as well. So it's something that I've learned to accept. You know, it's just part of life here in Hong Kong. Stable transfers are very common. Of course, you don't want them to happen, but you know, if you're not performing with a horse, then you know an owner might want to give somebody else a go. But it's just, you know, there's not really like they don't say, look, why don't you give him one more start, and then if he doesn't perform, I might look to give somebody else a go with him. That doesn't often happen. It's just see you later.
What's the major difference between training a horse here compared with, for example, Matamata or anywhere else back home? Like from the time they arrive here from New Zealand or Australia, what's their career differences between if they were arriving in your stable back in the Te Akau days?
I guess at Te Akau we were buying a lot of yearlings and ready to run horses, so they were coming through at an earlier stage. When they arrive in Hong Kong, most of them have trialled, if not jumped out, or raced if they come as a PP. So there's some level of sort of form or ability that you hope you can see. But usually, you know, when they arrive, they pretty much get into the routine pretty quickly. Everybody thinks that the environment here is very tough on the horses, which for some horses it is, and then some horses will just settle in and just get in the feed bin and get their head down and do their work.
Is that a breed of a horse, or is that just the makeup of that horse, and psychology that some horses cop it and some horses don't?
I think a bit of everything. There's often sires here are very popular, like Deepfield, for example, Perencanto. A horse that is going well here at the moment is Rote. He's got a couple of good horses here. So the sires do become fashionable, and then obviously the demand for those types of horses increases. But yeah, it's a mixture of everything. Like, you know, you might have a nice quiet horse in New Zealand that Dad's had and trialled up, and you think it's going to come up here and do well and be suitable, and then the horse won't eat for 3 or 4 weeks when he gets here, and that, you know, that takes its toll. Obviously they lose a bit of body weight, and they just struggle to adjust a little bit. So they're all individual. Some settle in really quickly. You know, Dad might send up a horse that he thinks is okay, and then it just comes up here and grows another leg. Whereas on the odd occasion, he'll send up one, and it might come, you know, even from Australia or wherever it may be, and it comes here with a really good profile, and you think this is going to be a nice horse here, and then for some reason it just doesn't click. So is there a hard and fast rule? No, I don't think so, but it's just probably on an individual basis more so than anything.
What about the training? Because many of our viewers are based in the industry, and they know that in New Zealand they get up and they canter, and then eventually they go a little bit quicker, and it would be rare that many of our horses gallop much more than 800 or 1,000 metres. But here there's a lot of speed racing, so is it the same pattern of training to get them to the races?
I think in Hong Kong we do train them a bit softer.
Is that because they race more often?
Well, yeah, and there's not really any such thing as spelling a horse here. So you're trying to prolong their form from the middle of September till the middle of July. Get 12 or 14 runs or more out of them for the season. So we don't do too much with them in the mornings, but we trial them to get them fit. And the trials are very fast. The pace that they're run at is a lot different to New Zealand and Australia. Like, they just jump and go. Probably more like America in the trials. Most of the trials are on the dirt. But yeah, we don't overtrain them in the morning, as you say, because they're racing more often and you're trying to extend their season. Tracks are pretty firm. And we've got a lovely day here today, but it can get very, very hot, and particularly in the spring and the autumn and then into the summer, it's quite tough on them, the environment. They're living in air-conditioned boxes, which is another thing that you've got to take into consideration. So scoping the horses pretty regularly, checking for blood or for mucus, all of those sorts of things are part of the basic sort of training equation here.
What about things that would have been second nature to you in New Zealand? The way you feed, how much water they need, even shoeing, things which would have been relatively formulaic. Do they change when they come up here?
Not really. Same sort of principles. Plenty of roughage to control ulcers. Obviously a stressful environment, so that's something that we work hard on. But yeah, plenty of feed. They've all got automatic waterers, so it's a little bit tricky to keep a track of how much water they're actually drinking. But everything's very well organised, well formulated. These boxes here at the Olympic stables are lovely big boxes. They're redeveloping the other side at the moment, so they're going to be a bit more spacious as well when they're all finished. But in terms of the basic concept of training a horse, as you say, feed, farriers, some really good farriers here. Basically everything in Hong Kong is done to sort of upgrade the local workforce. So we've got a couple of head farriers that are fantastic, and then all the other farriers that are doing the day-to-day work there are locals. And we've got really good farriers. But yes, to answer your question, the principle's very similar.
When you were purchasing horses, and predominantly most of your life purchasing horses from the yearling sales was with Te Akau, so you were buying a certain sort of horse. Are you now, having been here for a couple of years, looking for a different type of horse than what you were previously looking for?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Like if I had have known now, 2 years or 3 years ago when I got here, like I'd be in a pretty different situation, I think. But
so you bought horses which haven't worked in Hong Kong, some of them, as much as you would have liked to, because you were still buying like a Kiwi.
Yeah, well, probably horses that are a little bit small, lacked a bit of bone. I had a lot of luck with smaller horses at Te Akau, and maybe that was just because we were sort of getting into them as 2-year-olds, whereas here you want to buy big, strong horses that can handle the environment and have a bit of longevity about them. Those weak, narrow-gutted things that lack a bit of size and scope and strength, they don't often do very well here.
Do they melt away a bit?
Melt away a bit. So yeah, I've bought some medium to smaller sized horses that don't weigh a lot, and they just come up here and get a flogging. So it certainly change the type of horses that we're buying to try and buy bigger, more powerful horses that can adapt to the environment.
What about jockeys? Because it seems here that obviously Zach is the top of the tree, and at the moment J-Max here as well, but the standard seems very high, but it also seems that no one tends to have a stable jockey working for them predominantly. There seems to be the jockeys go where the best rides are.
Exactly, and before my time there was stable riders, but there doesn't appear to be, there's none here at the moment that have, but back when John Moore was training, he had Tommy Berry come through, and there was I think Moreira was with Size for a little while. I'm not sure if he was employed as a club jockey or not, but I think probably the single biggest factor is the jockey.
So how hard is it to get a Zach or a J-Mac on? I'm picking you don't just ring up on Thursday for Sunday.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because if Zach wants to ride something, he'll text you and say, "I'd like to ride that." Like if you ask him to ride something, often the answer is, "No, I'm already booked up on that," or you just don't even bother asking him for something that's going to start 20 to 1. He only wants to ride, and rightfully so, the horses that are in the market, because he is the self-proclaimed king of Hong Kong. But yeah, I think the jockey is the single biggest factor. Like because of the barriers and the handicapping so tight, if you get the jockey that makes the least amount of mistakes, then you give yourself the best chance of training a winner. So I do believe that's really important, as it is in any place, but I think more so here as well.
Just for people to understand the dynamic of what goes on here. So in New Zealand, you run a business, if you have your own stable, and you pay all the staff and you pay all the bills and you do all the accounts and send them out. But that's not how it works here.
No, not at all. So that's one of the great things about Hong Kong is you look after your owners and communicate well with them, and then look after your horses. All of the staff are paid by the club. We just get a salary and a percentage. We don't have to chase any bad debts. The Jockey Club invoice everybody.
So no sending out bills?
No sending out bills.
Oh, that must be nice.
Yeah, well, and not that I had to do that at Te Akau either, because that was, my job was to train the horses, right? So it's probably quite similar to what I was doing at home. But all of the invoicing to do with the procurement of feed or hay or lucerne, or, you know, paying the farriers and paying the staff, and you know, the shavings will turn up once or twice a week. There's really nothing that you have to worry too much about apart from training your horses and looking after the owners.
I was at Happy Valley on Wednesday night and bumped into you. You looked very much at home and like you're acclimatised to here, and you know the ins and outs. What was it like when you first got here and you were going to Happy Valley on a Wednesday night, and because it's quite an amazing and almost awe-striking experience, and then of course the bigger track of Sha Tin on a Sunday. How long did it take you to get used to that level of energy?
Like, not too long. When I first arrived, it was COVID. So a couple of weeks in the hotel. When I was being interviewed for the job, everything was over Zoom. I'd only ever been to Hong Kong once before I actually got the job, and that was just for a couple of days with Danny from when Danny was working at NZB. So it probably took a little while to adjust, but like Happy Valley on a Wednesday night is, you know, as you say, amazing. It's a wonderful, wonderful atmosphere. Really enjoy Happy Valley. I think it's something that everybody that comes to town should go and experience. And Sha Tin is probably a little bit more traditional. There's no sort of beer garden or the live music, or, you know, what they call Happy Wednesday for Happy Valley. Sha Tin is, I reckon, the most beautiful track in the world. Like, what it can stand up to, the amount of racing that it has, when it gets wet, the amount of rain that it can handle. Like, it's got to be one of the best tracks in the world without a doubt. And, you know, when international races are on and there's 70,000 plus people there, it really is an amazing, you know, atmosphere. And the club, you know, they're great at really putting on a spectacle. You know, there'll be an opening ceremony of some description. There'll be a band. You know, before the first race, they'll do everything they can to get a really good audience there. So, yeah, they're both amazing tracks, and you know, it's easy to forget what a privileged position you are to be in Hong Kong, to be training here, and, you know, it's probably something that you do need to appreciate.
Often we watch the races, and because it's the same pool of horses, apart from International Week, of course, it's very easy to think, well, okay, I can understand why Golden 60 wins so many in a row, or Lucky Swainess looks so good, or now Guerin Rising, because it's racing the same horses. But you know good horses. You've had Imperators, who was the best sprinter in the world at one stage. You've had Brobber Beals and Te Akau Sharks. How good are these horses?
These are proper horses. I would say a Class 2 race in Hong Kong is probably the equivalent of maybe not a Group 1, but definitely a Group 2 in New Zealand. Like, when you get horses that go through the grades here, they're proper horses. Unfortunately, at the moment, we don't really have any of those, but hopefully there's something waiting in the wings here.
And the Romantic Warriors, the Golden 60s, obviously we've seen Romantic Warrior on the international stage, but they're generally world-class horses, obviously. The Golden 60s, and even the Guerin Rising looks like an absolute freak.
Yeah, unfortunately, Golden 60 didn't travel and didn't get the chance to sort of show himself off. That, you know, for a couple of different reasons. He was probably at his prime when COVID was on, and it was difficult to travel. We've seen what Romantic Warrior did in Japan, and obviously winning the Cox Plate. And it's going to be fascinating to watch what Guerin Rising can do. He seems to be the most exciting horse. He really does look exceptional.
You are a very family-oriented person, so is Danielle Johnson, of course, your fiancée and soon-to-be wife. How hard has it been to not be around the family by making the lifestyle choice and the career choice to come here?
I guess it's a bit challenging from time to time, particularly when things aren't going very well. But they're only a phone call away.
Does FaceTime help? That sort of thing helps?
I'm not real big on that. Nah, phone calls okay every now and again, but I find if I watch the races at home too much or speak to everybody at home too much, I actually miss it more. So I just sort of try and stay in my lane here. And when things are going well here, it's the greatest place in the world. But when things aren't going very well, it's it can be a bit of a lonely place, and get a bit emotional just thinking about how difficult it can be. But Danielle's here; she loves it. We've got Spencer. We live in a beautiful apartment. We've got a good quality of life. So just got to suck it up and get on with it.
Well, we all know Danielle, and we all love Danielle, not as much as you love her, but Spencer we don't know. So this is a first. I wanted Spencer to make his international television debut, if we can get Spence here, because this is a great story. Danielle was telling me that in this part of the world, it's seen as bad luck or good luck. You don't cut your children's hair for the first year.
Apparently
so.
We've got enough bad luck without
so,
breaking the rules.
So we're going to get Spence to come on with what is almost a year full of hair.
Yep.
So he's getting ready for his first haircut. Here's a cameo from former leading jockey, Danielle Johnson, and Spencer Richards, I suppose he is. Hello,
Yes,
Spence.
Spencer
Hello,
William.
Spence. Hello, Mum. We'll get to you in a second. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Spence. It's a lot of hair.
Yes, he is. He's
And who's this?
First birthday present will be a
A haircut.
haircut.
Who's this? This is Luna.
This is Luna.
So there's a bit of a family going on here. It's like you've got it. You bought your own family.
Yes, and another one coming. So
Oh.
2 under 2.
Um,
So there's plenty going on.
Does Spence like
Isn't
the
there?
horses? Does Spence like coming to the stable?
Well, I don't really know what he likes, to be honest, but
At this point in time.
no, he's a dear little boy, and not too far away from walking, are you, mate? So no, he's going well, and this is what it's all about.
Hey, Spence, welcome to the Guerin report. How you going, buddy?
Look, yes, badly in need of a haircut.
There's obviously challenges, but there's obviously some wonderful things going on up here.
Exactly, and sometimes you just have to think about that. So
Is Hong Kong home now? I moved from my home to Auckland when I was about 20, and it took me a while for Auckland to become home. Is Hong Kong now home? Because I still call the South Island home when I'm talking to people, but it's not. So how's that experience for you? What's home?
home is here now. I don't want to give up. I don't want to go back. Just got to get better. But Hong Kong is definitely home.
Or get better horse.
Yeah, I'll get better horses, and be a better trainer. But yeah, Hong Kong's definitely home.
We're a pretty good sire. Things
Yes.
are going well here,
Yeah.
so that's good. Mate, we're all loving it from afar. Thank you, Spence, for the cameo. We're all loving it from afar, brother. We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Spence, enjoy your life in Hong Kong, and we'll see you back at the sales at some stage in New Zealand. Great to get Jamie's thoughts about the challenges of training in Hong Kong, but of course, they are a superstar family who deserve their own separate interviews. Here is New Zealand Jockey premiership winner, and of course, Jamie's fiancée, Danielle Johnson. We just spoke to hubby. You're a mum with another one on the way, so things have changed since we last saw you.
Yeah, we're going to have 2 under 2, so
How's mummy? What does it call?
it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rewarding.
He's a little ripper.
It's very different to my life back home, that's for sure.
You mentioned that. So you were one of our leading jockeys, and it was going so well. It must have been a difficult choice to agree to give up riding by moving here.
I think things happen for a reason. Breaking my leg, my hands are pretty tied there. I don't know if I would have been able to walk away from riding if that didn't happen, as I did. I think that would have been really difficult.
Like Jamie, you're a family person.
Mm-hmm.
I saw your mum with Spence at the sales, and she's absolutely loving the grandmother part. So is it hard to be away from the family up here, or are you building your own little community?
It is, for sure. But it's so special when I go home. You know, the older Spencer gets, the more he's communicating with mum and dad, with Leanne and Paul, Jamie's parents. Yeah, it is certainly hard, but we've got great friends around us. We have help in Hong Kong. Spencer's got a nanny, so having children here is pretty lucrative.
What about horses? I mean, you're still round horses, but you don't ride horses here. So are you going to get your track work licence so you can ride, or do you ever go to track work in the morning and go, I miss that?
Mick, I don't miss the early start.
No, I bet.
When Jamie's alarm goes off, oh no.
At 3 a.m.
Yeah.
At 3 a.m.
I'm more like a 6:30 girl now. But that is not when track work is.
So you don't miss sitting on a horse as much?
I actually rode for 2 weeks before I fell pregnant with Spencer.
Yeah.
And it was great. I mean, track work's like riding track work anywhere really. But yeah, it was great to say that I've ridden in Hong Kong. And I also just got my visa to ride work and then fell pregnant with our soon-to-be next child coming. So there's something in the water that's saying don't ride track work, I think.
What about the wives of the jockeys and trainers here? Because we know the jockeys and trainers are in this very intense situation. Do you spend a lot of time together with the other partners of, because I presume it's, a lot of you live in the same building, for example.
Yeah, we do. We've formed quite a good little group, a little community downstairs. There's tons of kids, so it's great for Spencer to go down, play in the playground. Mums will meet up for lunches or, you know, birthdays, what have you.
Does it feel like home? I asked Jamie the same question, because when anybody moves anywhere, sometimes it takes a while for this to become home. Does it feel like home now? I
call Hong Kong home. New Zealand's always home. And then when I'm back in New Zealand, that is my home. I come back to Hong Kong, this is my home. And we hope to be here for a long time, and it will be our future.
Okay, so this fan club you had back in New Zealand, we're never going to see you riding again in a race. We're never going to see you riding in a trial again.
I feel sorry for them.
So yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially now,
got a couple of Group
child.
1s and you've done your job.
There's nothing like the feeling of winning on a horse. Like any jockey will vouch for me here. Like it's just something that Jamie has a winner, we're a team, but it's just so different being on a horse winning yourself. I certainly miss that, but I don't miss it enough to say I'm going to come back riding.
Well, it's been cool to invade your family space for the day. Spencer's a ripper. Luna's a bit crazy, your dog.
Luna's like mum, clearly.
Luna's got mum's brain. But it's great to be part of your life up here in Hong Kong, so thanks for having us.
Thank you for having me on. Been looking forward to this.
Isn't it funny how history repeats? Here's some footage from years ago. Andre Neil with a young Jamie Riches and his aspirations. Well, he didn't quite make it as a jockey, but he sure did as a trainer.
Now the kids, are you involved in horses? Like you'd like to be a jockey one day maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah?
He's keen, but I think he's going to throw a bit to his mother. Jamie loves it. Yeah, Jamie rides work and he, he comes to the races and leads them in. And yeah. And maybe a bit tall though, I think.
You think so?
Take after me in that respect, I think.
Yeah. But obviously showing signs that he's very interested in the industry.
Yeah, he's quite a wee natural, certainly want to see him finish his education, but then, would like to send him off somewhere to follow it through.
I hope you've enjoyed tonight's show. Next week on the Guerin Report, Cameron George joining us from 8 p.m. on Trackside. But let's go out on a high. It was Chinese New Year meeting at Sha Tin on Friday, and here was our man, Jamie Richards, shining on the biggest stage.
Up front, Fun and Fun together by a head. Dragon 4C second and 2 away third, Jolly Jumper. King Oberon wider, and then came Carrying Radiance, followed by Yichong Glory, getting one off to improve on the inside of You All Things. And next is Triumphant Warrior and Invincible Lucky. It is Fun and Fun together, Dragon 4Cs. Out wider then is Yichong Glory. Favourite comes into it from Invincible Lucky. Yichong Glory in the centre of the track has gone up to Dragon 4Cs, and then came Fun and Fun together, but Yichong Glory is speeding away on debut. He's put 3 lengths on them, and now they're going to cheer Purton. Yichong Glory beat Dragon 4C's Fun and Fun together.